Now, the rest of the story.
And for those of you wondering how the 360-degree waves look with the fertilizer coming out of them, just like that. Granted, that's what the fertilizer controller maxed out. I'm going through and I'm flushing out the fertilizer out of the planter. I dropped out the last, it was only 15 gallons that was in it anyway of fertilizer. Flushed that out. Actually put that into the sprayer, and I'll spray that out after we first cut. I'll spray it on something. I'm going through running cold water through it. I'm going to flush it with some hot water, cold water again, and then I'm going to winterize it. Probably excessive, but I really don't like messing with this fertilizer stuff. This stuff costs too much to let any of this really sit on it all winter. And then as far as the seed boxes go, there's no plans on putting them back on. And I'm planning on pretty much going through and parting out everything that we're going to be taking off. It's like the airbags and sprockets. If it's worth anything, put it on Facebook Marketplace or something and try to get it moved. I'm going to hit everything with the pressure washer one last time after I do everything else. I think it's going to take 4 to 6 gallons of that winterizer to get all the lines treated and making sure that it's going through the whole planter, because as far as fertilizer goes, we're not making any changes there. And as much as I don't mind this setup, to be honest, a 200-gallon tank of any kind of liquid hanging this high up in the air and all that weight is on the tongue of this planter, I'm okay with it, but it still makes me nervous. I mean, just for being what it is. I mean, all the welds look good. I always make sure I check those periodically to make sure they're not cracking. About the biggest victim out of all of this is that I had one of those plastic hitch savers. It's the only one I had at the time, and it broke right at the tail end of doing soybeans. So yeah, this hitch wasn't that old very many years ago, and I have every intention of ordering a bunch more of those hitch savers and starting to use them more regularly on all of our equipment. The baler, I have one in the 82 in the baler right now, which it's sitting over there in all of its glory. It's actually a nice picture, isn't it? The disc bind, the deer disc bind is done, other than I gotta get the PTO shaft off the ground. The deer baler, Dad went through and got all the chains and the sprockets changed off, all except the one that I'm going to wait on a little bit because it looks to me like it's already been done. The net wrap belt, and what else is left? Oh, and there's 2 bumpers on the door that need to be done. Hey, dude. And then that'll be done. And I'm feeling pretty confident running that baler this year. I mean, it seems like everybody is upgrading balers for some reason, but coincidence. So far I'm looking to be really happy with that baler. I mean, there's a reason why I wanted that baler, but running it and everything, I'm not worried about teeth, which is kind of a sigh of relief. I'm not worried about teeth. I'm not worried about the bands. I'm not even going to change the belts, the baler belts on it, at least until after first cut, and see how it works. Ryan's going to be running it for the most part, but getting the monder and the baler, the monder and the 82 to communicate with each other is pretty important, because it didn't when we first plugged it in, and it was a connector issue. Grabbed the plug, and I mean, it's clean. It doesn't have any rust or corrosion on it, but we went through and hit it with that electrical cleaner, shined it up, hit it real heavy with that, and it's communicating pretty flawlessly right now. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to be able to deduce that I'm probably going to want to run the 569 for the most part over the 566. I mean, I can tell you that already just by looking this one over and doing the monitor and everything. It does have the variable core controller on it, the valve. You can turn that on and off. I have no intentions on the majority of our hay using that variable core. I can think of a few applications I would use it for, but well, like the wet, nasty, heavy fodder like stuff that we cleaned up last year, I would have done that there because it does help. The whole point of that variable core, I was always told, is it allows them to shed moisture easier. So I'd have no problem with that. And I gotta go through and get the planter cleaned up, which we're getting there. It's gonna be unhooked in the shed, looking like this for the time being. But right now it is Saturday. And they're calling for a chance of rain Tuesday. I'm kind of wondering if we aren't gonna at least try to make something, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, somewhere in there. That's kind of what I got in my mind. Largely just because it's getting to the first of the month. All that rain and the heat that is actually back in the forecast for the... Hey, dude. Back in the forecast for the first part of the week. Everything, grass and hay wise, really stretched. The alfalfa looks pretty awesome. The grass down at the valley, I went down and checked that 2 days ago. That was yesterday, and it really took off. It's starting to show signs that it's near to heading out. So by the time we go through and clean up all of Dad's and Ryan's stuff, we'll probably drop into the valley and hit it hard, knock it all over. I got parts coming for the tedder teeth, and then I'll go through and want to look at the planter or me, but get the tedder ready to go. And then the plan is to really just, cut, ted, bale, haul in, fertilize, wait a week, spray for weeds, and spray radiate. So, that's how it's kind of looking right now. I'm hoping it goes fairly trouble-free or flawless, but I think everybody hopes for that. But the 4640, the AC is due to be done on Tuesday. We got to pull the hood up. I guess they got all the parts in, and I don't really think I want to know the list of all the parts that have to go on that thing. But we're kind of switching gears. I haven't put hardly any hours in the 7600 up there. I was going to change the oil in it, but since we switched over to running 1540 for the most part, other than straight 30 and the Bobcat and like the four-wheelers and Gator and lawnmowers and stuff, I just checked the 7600 and we put 86 hours on it since its oil change in December. And people can chime in if they want as to what they would do, but I'm kind of leaning more towards making first cut with it. By the time we go through and cut and bale and haul everything, I'll probably go through and do the oil change, engine, fuel, and hydraulic filters, running 1540 year round, and we'll go that route, because I do average between 500 to 600 hours in that 7600 in a year. And by switching gears, I mean the 4640 is what I put the majority of my hours in the spring anymore. I mean, running the planter. 7600 is kind of split up between Dad and Ryan, and a little bit I use it for like grading driveway and stuff like that. But then now that planting's done, largely it's Dad and Ryan that are in the 46. I'm in it long enough to spray. So I mean, every day I go down and spray the valley is a full day, so it's going to be at least 4 full days of spraying in the 46. And any days that I end up running the rake or need to run the rake. But running 2 rakes, even if we only have Ryan and I here, if say if Dad's working, at least for first, maybe second cut, because it's early in the summer and the sun isn't setting until 8-9 o'clock, I think we'll be all right by having one of us rake and the other baler station down there. One of us rakes as long as we can until 3, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and then jump in the other baler and knock down everything we can. I'm not a big fan of raking up hay for the next day, because then you get any dew that comes up from underneath, and then the problem with that is you got to roll it again, or you got to handle it again anyway. So if I'm going to do that, I'd rather just leave it lay and then rake it in the morning to get that moisture out of it, or dew. So as far as the planter goes, the only other thing that is on my mind with this machine that needs to be addressed is getting enough weight on it. No-tilling into soybeans with this machine, it got light on me, and that did give me some issues that I had to treat a little bit differently, as in drop the seed depth down deeper than I would have preferred, but at least that way I was at least getting everything down at least the depth that I needed it in. So the rain we got, everything is sitting good. Everything's germinating. Not everything's out of the ground yet. The last, I can't say 260 acres because, valid point. So the stuff that was conventional tilled, I mean chiseled last fall and worked this spring, that stuff is up and out of the ground. And the stuff that was no-tilled is, as of yesterday, still had, well, not quite an inch to go yet to get out of the ground yet, and that's in no-till soybean stubble. So, and that stuff was all planted within 24 hours of each other, because the stuff that I planted in the conventional till stuff, I was planting at noon on Monday, and then by, what was it, 6 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock Tuesday morning, I was planting the soybean stubble stuff. So it's coming up, it's germinated and everything, but it's the 1st of June, and I'd really like to see it up out of the ground. That's enough of me rambling. I think that's enough of this running. I'm going to just shut the water off. I got to flush this out, and I'm going to take the filters off of the inline filters off of it, flush them, and put them back on. So with that, that's enough of the planter for a while, right? Talk to my agronomist. We're going to go through and switch it over probably earliest mid-July. Realistically, probably August, which August can be a pretty slow month for us, depending on our hay rotations and when we get all that done. Because if I can go through and make hay how I would like, all the alfalfa would be getting made every 4 weeks, and the grass hay, which is why first cut is so tedious, because we got to make 100% of everything, which means all of our alfalfa, all of that, those pasture areas that we've been making the past few years. That's only 15 to 20 acres. The only problem with that is it's logistics getting through the pasture, you know, through the woods, and getting all that stuff cleared up and hauled out. Then you got the valley, the hay ground, pastures, waterways, and then with doing hay every 4 weeks, then I offset all of my grass, because it does take a little bit longer to stretch out, and I do know I'm only doing 3 cuttings. So ideally I make it the 1st of June, mid-July, and then September, mid-September. So I'd give it another 15 days after each cutting, ideally. So, alright, I gotta go. Thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in. Take care, take it easy, keep in touch. You guys are watching the end of the story.